Hello and welcome to ChinnyVision. Today, the genesis of portable computing. After the success of the Amstrad CPC and PCW, Amstrad started to eye up the IBM PC compatible market. IBM PCs were incredibly expensive at the time, over £1,000 for the basic computer. Some of the Olivettis were slightly less. And Amstrad launched the PC1512 for $499 with a black and white monitor, mono, CJ graphics and a single disk drive. And there were various other models as well. And the machine was a huge success. In fact, it helped Amstrad capture about a third of the computer market in Europe. The machine was an 8 megahertz 8086 machine based on the original IBM AT, although running at twice the speed. And you could have a 10 or 20 megabyte hard drive. And a lot of businesses bought these. They took off and were very popular. So with one eye on what was happening in Japan and America, Alan Sugar decided to produce a portable version of the PC 1512 and 1640. Dated 1987, I don't think it was actually released till the start of 1988. I've got a machine here. It's quite, when I say portable, it's quite a beast of a machine. So let's get this into shot. And this is a PPC640, as in the Amstrad PC1640, and there's also a 512 model as well. 640K in this model and 512K in the PPC512. Now, it's not a laptop in the modern sense, and we'll open it up in a minute. You can see it's quite a big beast, and immediately you can see there's two disk drives in the side there, and that one there, by the way, looks like it's been added afterwards in a different colour. But I picked this one up on eBay for not very much money at all. I think it was about £12. And these things go for next to nothing. It's a little bit worn, this machine. I've seen nicer examples. Looks like it came from the NHS, in fact. I took off some magic marker that had NHS written on it. So they're obviously using these machines in healthcare back in the late 80s. The spec is nearly exactly the same as the 1640 machine, although it doesn't have the extra colours that the Amstrad machine, or the main Amstrad machine, had. They had an extra machine colour mode that allowed you to put all 16 colours of CGA on screen at once. So let's open them up. And first of all, the thing that strikes you, I'll move this a bit here so you can see it better on camera, is this keyboard. It's a full keyboard. And it's rather nice, actually. You type on it. Very clicky, very solid, exactly what you expect on a high-quality PC. The basic 512K model of this, the PPC 512, costs $399 plus VAT, which was 15% at the time. That's sales tax for people living outside the UK. And for an extra £100, you got the 640 model, and this one has had a second drive added, as I say, at some later date, although you could buy a twin drive version. No hard drive options available from stock, although there was an aftermarket hard drive that could be added on, which we'll talk about later. Now, you'll see that's the keyboard, that's the main unit there, and the screen flips up like that. We're going to have a look at that later if I can get it to show up on the camera. It is black and white. In fact, it's a text-only display. Very, very small. Going to be exactly the right angle. Think of the kind of thing you saw on the Game Boy, except not capable of any graphics whatsoever. It is purely text. No backlight either as well. It's not an Intel chip inside here. It's actually an NEC V30, a low power version of that, because this is a portable. And the thing when we're talking about this and looking at this, is to remember that you can look at this and laugh from a modern perspective and say, well, that's not much of a laptop. This is not a laptop. This is a luggable, normal PC. You fold it down, and there you go. You can take that with you from office to home, and it's a full IBM PC compatible that you can take around with you. And let's get that back down there. It's heavy. It's about £22. And that's without batteries, I believe. So, and it does have a built-in modem as well. So get it open again. There's two flip switches at the side. Open them up, and there we go there. Aside from the keyboard that we've looked at there, there's very few other controls on the front here. There are these lights and switches here. That switches between battery power and mains. There's a light there if it tells you if you're on CRT external display, drive B light, drive A light, power light, contrast button, which oddly enough you can actually control from software as well from the keyboard, and a volume control, which is unusual for an IBM PC compatible, but the PC1512 and 1640 also had that feature as well, so you can turn down that annoying beeper. Now above those lights, and if we go up here, there's a little cubby hole, which we open that up carefully, because some of this old plastic can be quite brittle. And in here's a actual, you see a phone cable, and that's actually for the built-in internal modem, and it's always a pig to get this back inside. The machine has a 2400 bits per second, you heard that right, 2400 bits per second modem, which enabled you to dial back into your office or use online services such as Prestel and Micronet back in those days. And yeah, that's a, I have to jump cut. There we go, it's back in, and that didn't take ages at all. 10 out of 10 to Amstrad for actually including a built-in modem cable and building it into the machine, but minus several million marks for making it a fraction too big to fit into the cubby hole. Just a little bit less cable there, lads, and that would have worked much better. And just while I remember to give you a size comparison of this machine, here's a Spectrum Plus 2. So actually, that's how, it's about wide as a Spectrum Plus 2, about an inch wider, and then it's about the thickness of 2 Plus 2s. So let's flip the keyboard back up. There, nice Amstrad logo on there. A few marks and things where this thing's been used. And incidentally, there's a link with Sinclair with this machine and the innovative design, because Amstrad recognised when they were making this that this was probably a little bit too much to build something internally that could be portable, and they needed some real industrial design expertise to help them. So they got in Rick Dickinson, formerly of Sinclair, to help them make this. And actually it does have a few design touches that do show, if you look at some of his other concept stuff, was the Sinclair stuff never got made. There's a few design touches that you are recognisably his on this machine, things like the hinges and things like that. It's all very clever, and well done to Amstrad for actually recognising that they needed help making this. So on this side there, we've got twin disk drives and a handle to carry the machine with. The original PC1512 and 1640 came with 5¼ inch discs, as they were most practical and affordable at the time. But when Amstrad came to do this in '87, they decided, for space reasons presumably, to go for 3¼ inch discs. And this is the first time Amstrad used this format. As I mentioned earlier, both these drives should be grey, but this is an aftermarket disk drive that's been added in there. But these are 720K floppies, completely compatible with IBM PCs. This is a full portable IBM PC compatible, of course. So we flip the machine around again, see the back, and you'd think this is fairly dull and unexciting, nothing to see here. But there you go, there's all your ports. You've got a standard CGA video output. That outputs to a CGA monitor, 16 colours, all the standard CGA display modes. Won't plug into a VGA or SVGA monitor. Unfortunately, the pinouts are different, and I've spent about 2 weeks trying to get it working, and the best I've got so far, even with a video converter cable, or video converter board rather, sorry, one of the GBS boards that claims to convert CGA, the best I've got so far is a rolling picture. So we're not going to see the CGA output from this machine today, unfortunately, which is a shame. Standard parallel port, serial port. You've got a expansion ports here that are for various peripherals, including hard drives and all sorts of things that could be produced aftermarket. So this machine doesn't have any ISA cards inside it, so anything that you're going to plug into it externally is going to go in through those ports there. That means everything's proprietary in effect, although Amstrad didn't. I've got the expansion ports A and B in front of me on my iPad. Let's bring those in there, and it just shows. I show these on the screen as well, but everything that you need is there, full addressing to everything you'd ever want, but it is proprietary. So what you have to do is, if you wanted to plug anything in there, you're going to have to get one of these special connectors and then wire it up. And according to these pins here, one of these connectors has got 37 pins on it, one's got 25 pins, and there's all sorts of things on here: clock, memory, write, 5 volts, 12 volts, stuff to address the memory, everything. It's a full expansion bus, but it's completely proprietary to the Amstrad. On the left-hand side there, you've got another modem connector. Don't know why Amstrad did that, because you've got that one inside, but... or actually, come to think of it, I wonder if that one inside comes out completely. Let's have a look, see if it does. No, it doesn't. That's attached, so that is a second phone connector there. Oh, what have I done? I've taken this out of here, and I'm never going to get it right. We'll worry about that in a minute. And oh, why did I do that? And on here, a specialist proprietary Amstrad connector for an Amstrad monitor. Now, that's got a lot of pins on it there. That's got a lot of pins on it for a specialised DIN connector. And the reason is that if you plug this into an Amstrad PC monitor, the Amstrad PC monitor will supply all of the power that this machine needs. So it will actually do the 5 volts and the 12 volts. It will completely bypass the internal power circuitry and just control it as if it was a Amstrad PC1512 or 1640. Quite a nice touch, really. And then finally, you've got a standard DC in socket. Now, you'll be asking, what does this require? And the answer is quite simple. It just requires, I'll get this over here, standard 12 volt connector. And in fact, the machine originally, and I don't have this, came with a cigarette converter for your car. So you could plug this into your car and run your Amstrad from the cigarette lighter. There's another thing about the expansion ports is when the expansion unit is fitted, apparently the PPC must be powered via the expansion connectors as well. So I'm not quite sure how that works, but basically your expansion has to power the unit. And I'm just looking at the technical specs in the Amstrad technical reference here, and Amstrad are really good at giving you these kind of details. And the power requirements, as I say, are 12 volts, but actually the official supply output's 13 volts. And there's a big variation in what it can accept because Amstrad sold this with a cigarette lighter for cars, cigarette lighter adapter, for cars. And obviously anyone who knows anything about cars knows that that voltage that comes out of your car can vary significantly depending on what's going on in the car. It can drop. And if running off battery power or starting the car, it can vary. And you wouldn't want your Amstrad suddenly powering off, would you, if you're using it in your car? So actually the PPC is quite smart in that it can work on anything from 9.5 volts to 17.5 volts. So it can withstand all those voltage spikes that you would get in a car. I think that's a pretty neat party trick. I think if you tried to shove 17.5 volts up most computers that were expecting 12, they'd probably fail, or a Spectrum would fail. Well, certainly if you put 17.5 volts because it needs 9 volts, but you get the point. This is actually a pretty neat party trick, and must have some decent voltage regulation going on inside. So get rid of this adapter. I'm going to turn this round and plug it in. Let's see what it can do. One thing I should mention, I've just turned this round here very quickly and just get that on camera there. Nothing much on this side. There are some dip switches in there just to adjust things like to default to the external display or internal display, and your speaker is there. And there's nothing else to really see here apart from that. So here we are. I've opened her up and let's put the screen up there. And I've plugged in the power supply and flip it to from battery on, external off, to battery off, external on. Let's see what happens. Just please wait. I don't know if you can see anything on the screen there. Do you know what? That took less time to actually sort out than I thought it was going to. Hopefully you can see a fairly decent picture of the Super Twist display from the PPC640 on your screens. So I've got MS-DOS floppy here, MS-DOS 3. I'll pop that in the drive there. So I'm going to press any key. Nice familiar sound of a 3.5-inch disk drive doing its business. Right, it requires battery power, and in order to memorize what it's going to do. So we're going to enter in a time, and it is I'm going to check this. It's the 5th of December, so it's American date styles 12th. 05 space year 2015. No Y2K problems with this baby. It is quite happy with 2015. There, invalid date. What have I done wrong? 12. Oh, it didn't like the 05. 2015. There we go. And the time is 20:45. MS-DOS 3.3, and got some suggestions there for you can change the contrast and change between the LCD and CRT output. All the time you're on the black and white display here, the LCD display, it's text only. Now the PPC is of course a portable, and it does have another party trick alongside that, being able to work off a car battery at variable voltages, in that it has a battery or can have an internal battery, but it's not like your modern iPad or laptop with a lovely lithium-ion rechargeable battery inside that goes on for many hours. No, it takes standard C cells. Remember these? These things that your little portable cassette player took in the 80s? It takes 10 of them. And apparently it varies. Amstrad say you can get a couple of hours out of these batteries, although this thing's got twin drives and apparently you'll be lucky to get an hour out of it. So what I thought we'd do is, before I show you any more software, we'll put them in and see what happens and see how long these things actually last for. Incidentally, you can't use rechargeables in this unit. Apparently, although you've got 10 batteries at 1.5 volts, that's going to be 15 volts. You'd think that'd be more than enough. Therefore, 12 1.2 volt batteries would be fine. The problem is that this thing puts such a massive load on the batteries that these standard alkalines will actually drop to 12 volts under use. And you can still apparently have screen display dimming when using a disk drive. I'm looking forward to this. Let's see what happens. So, I'm going to take off the power supply there, flip it over, get that on camera for you. I have to get these things open. I haven't used these for years and years and years. Right, so where are we? I used to have a big ghetto blast that took 6 of these, and I thought that was excessive. 10 C cells. It's lucky 7-day shops sell these so cheaply. This is ridiculous. Right, am I missing one? I'll put one down somewhere. I think I have. That's 5 there. Oh, there we go. Right. Another one there. This is ridiculous. This is worse than Atari Lynx. At least I didn't need massive amounts of huge batteries. It just ate them for when you played them. There we go. Oh, hang on, no, the Amstrad beep there. What's it? Ah. Right, let's try. Why is it beeping? Why is the Amstrad screaming out in pain at me? Ah, yes, of course. Right, the battery on. Right, it's battery off. Nope. Something's wrong there. Jump cut. Right, I don't think it's the PPC that's at fault here. I don't know if you can see this multimeter, but I'll put the soldered terminals on there. Soldered terminals, that's a good battery. 1.59 volts there, you can see 1.55 volts. I can't really see the screen, but this cell here, I've been testing them all. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. Looks like I've got a dead cell there. That's really annoying because I wanted to be able to test this unit. So what I'm going to do is do a separate test after I've done this video and record it separately, and we'll show how long it can actually run for. That's really annoying. Thank you so much, 7 Days Shop, for sending me Duff batteries. Now I'm going to test all the other ones just to see if they're broken as well. That's annoying. I was really looking forward to doing that. We've now time travelled forward 1 week because I now have some batteries. It's the following Saturday, and I'm going to put the batteries into the PPC640, and we're going to give it a second attempt. This time I'm watched by my cat. On we go. And we start the timer. Let's see how long this lasts. Here we are, into QBasic, Alt F. Now I'm hoping this works. It's a big program, 121K, and you would have seen the program name, gorillas.bas. Chances are, if you were at school with a PC, then this is probably one of the only games that officially you had because it came with QBasic. Not from this version, I think it was later versions, MS-DOS 5. So I'm hoping it's going to work. Module level code too large. Not going to work on this version of QBasic, that's annoying. Let's try tanks.bas. Well, it's loaded that in by the looks of it. Illegal function call. This is the problem with probably the version of QBasic I've got here, that it's an old version, is not going to run much modern, or I say modern, code from later versions. Try one more thing. This is a 3D rotation program. This is certainly not going to work, but we'll give it a go. At the end of the day, this is only a battery test, so illegal function call. Right, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do some word processing and things on this, and we're just going to keep that timer running, and we're going to see when it starts to have problems. Approaching 40 minutes now. Typed a little message into Wordstar, which I'm going to save onto disk. Save file and name file. Let's call it PPC640. Now, hopefully, I'm going to be able to load that into a modern computer and display it on screen. If I can't, I'm going to end up putting a caption on the screen apologising that it didn't work. So let's see what happens. It's still running pretty well, as it was when I put the batteries in fresh 38 minutes ago. No dimming so far. I've done lots of file copying, formatting, and all sorts of things. I managed to corrupt one floppy, my QBasic floppy, through my own stupidity. If you change disks, I've noticed in this version of MS-DOS, and it's in the B drive, and you don't tell it you've changed disks by going to the A drive and the B drive, it sometimes corrupts the floppies. It does that on mains as well. I've noticed that before, so that's just me not remembering that this version of MS-DOS appears to have some kind of bug. But so far it's running well. Just check how much memory we've got. Can I get into there and go additional other display RAM usage? Yeah, it's all running pretty well, it has to be said. Now heading up to the 1 hour mark. Still absolutely fine. And I've really been hammering this disk drive. Lots and lots of formatting, X copying, file copying, and a bit of Wordstar as well. And still absolutely no problems at all. Been going for 1 hour and 20 now. And I've had time to make another image of QBasic. So hopefully going to pop that in there. See if I've got some more. I've got one more bit of software on there. So we can see if we can run that. Another basic game, so QBasic. Still none of this dimming of the screen. I've checked 3 different websites that all say that the PPC has an hour battery life. Well, we're well over an hour now, so... And, okay, the 2... Oh, now that's interesting. When the PPC gets low on battery, it will beep. And we heard a beep just then, or you might have heard when I was talking, when it was accessing the drive. And apparently it's going to be quite annoying because when it's running down, the battery or the beep will just start beeping the entire time. Which, imagine being on a train or something with it screaming away. But nevertheless, we're at 1 hour 20. Just, there we go again. So let's press escape there. Let's see if, again, we can access the drive. Of course, QBasic might beep already when it boots up. I can't remember, so that may just be what it does. Right, battle.bas. Let's see if this runs. Oh, that was another beep there. We might be getting close to... Start that. Right. What do I have to do? Type in that. It's some kind of... I don't have the instructions for this. Right, you attack first. Type 1 for Army, 2 for Navy, 3 for Air Force. We'll send the Air Force in first, why not? How many men? Well, surely aircraft, I don't know, 44? Don't really know what's going on here. Next move, let's get the Navy in. How many men? No, I can't do that. Right, 3, 2, 1, 3, 2, 2. I sunk 2 of your battleships. My air force wiped out your unguarded capital. The results of both your attacks, you lost. I conquered your country. It serves you right for playing a stupid game. Press any key to continue. So I've got no idea what this bit of software does, but we do have some beeping going on. Right, I didn't have the camera on then, but I've just finished uploading Wordstar. It was absolutely fine. Then, just as it loaded in, it started making the beeping noise again. So at 1 hour 26. So let's see if we can open a document. Let's open up the document I wrote earlier. 8K. Hopefully you might have heard that. I don't know. That's the noise it makes when the battery drain is getting severe, apparently. So if I... It's a very faint beep. It's not a loud beep. It's a very faint one at the moment. Let's load another file. There's a... What's that? 46K file. I wonder what that is. Right. Put the microphone over there. See if it beeps. Yep. I think you probably heard that. And that's the noise it makes when it starts to lose the battery. It's beeping in time with the disk drive. I'm going to put the microphone by the speaker. Probably just hear that, hopefully, just beeping in time with the disk access. There's no kind of energy saving in this, no screen saving. It's got an energy efficient of it for its day CPU apparently, but that's the only concession really. It's beeping louder now, he says as he puts the mic. Yeah, that was much louder then. Yeah, it seems to be some kind of electronic thing Amstrad have put in there that's linked to the current dropping as an alarm. So the more the current drops, the louder the alarm gets. So here we are, 1 hour 47 minutes in. I've just actually got spell checking to work in Wordstar, and the only two words it didn't know how to spell were Amstrad and PPC. So that's ironic considering it's an Amstrad PPC, but never mind. From my Wordstar program disk, pop that back in. It's still functioning absolutely fine. Apart from that annoying beeping. I don't know if the dip switches can switch off that beeping. I don't know. I have to look that up and flash it up on the screen if it can. Right, we're at 2 hours 15 minutes and the screen is starting to dim and it's persistently whinging at me with the beeper. If it's doing nothing, the beeper stays off, but as soon as you start doing something, the beeper is persistently beeping and doing stuff. So I think this is probably as far as you could push this thing realistically. So let's have a look at what the batteries actually contain after it's running like this. I'll tell you what, I flipped this thing over, and I don't know if it's the machine or the batteries themselves, but they are warm. Very warm. I'm not sure if that's the machine. It's very difficult to tell. Let's see what they've actually got left in them. Hopefully you can see that multimeter there. I'm just going to put the probe on the battery and see what it says. And that's down to 1.28 volts. So that should still be enough to work this machine, but under load, of course, that's going to drop significantly, so probably dropping down to well below a volt, hence why the machine is beginning to get upset. So that's a quick look at the Amstrad PPC640, hopefully with a battery test thrown in as well at some stage. It's quite a remarkable machine for its era. It's not a modern laptop. It certainly is not that. It's a luggable computer, really. Just unplug that power there. It's a computer you could use at work and you could take it home at weekends. It's twice as fast as the original IBM XT computer, although nowhere near as fast as the AT computers, the 286s that came out later. Yes, get that in shot there. Yes, it's incredibly graphically limited. The manual does say you can flick, there's a dip switch on the side that says you can flick the main display over to CGA, but that doesn't actually work because the display isn't capable of CGA. Perhaps Amstrad were thinking, perhaps we're going to do a CGA screen when that kind of technology becomes available. I don't know. But the internal screen is text only, an incredibly limited display for work only. But you could bring it home at the weekend and you could plug in that CGA display and use that as a proper home computer, really, a proper business computer with a CGA 16 colour display. It's a business computer. It is a business computer. One of the administrators in our school had one of these in 1989. I used to see him walking in each morning with it and going home in the evening with it. And I guess that's kind of really what it was intended for. It's not a modern laptop. Laptops were kind of around by this stage in America, but they were incredibly expensive. You're talking in today's money about £7,000, £8,000, £9,000 for something approaching what you'd think of as a modern laptop. There were machines like the SX64, which had a CRT built into the display, and it was a luggable like this, but really, Commodore 64 with a tiny CRT display is practically unusable. The Sinclair Z88, which was beloved by journalists, that people used and ran on a few AA batteries, and they were really nice, and they were good word processing machines that you could plug into other computers and load stuff into. But this was quite unique, and it's unusual for Amstrad to actually have made something that was a leader, so to speak. Amstrad came to markets usually and put their own spin on it with existing technology. But this is something different. They've had to be really innovative to do this and make it all fold out and run it on batteries and everything else. And they've not skimped. You know, there's Amstrad have a reputation for, wrongly, for doing things badly, but this is a lovely keyboard. The build quality is really nice. I've not opened this up in this review because the insides of this thing are hideously complicated. It's a layer board, or multi-layer board rather, all sorts of things going in there. It's crammed in there, not something I want to do on video for a first time certainly, but I'll show a few pictures of what it looks like inside. And they really had to go to town to cram this down and make it low power and make it work. So the Amstrad PPC640, it's not a games machine by any means, although if you can get that CGA working, you've got a world of MS-DOS games open to you. But it is a really novel machine, and it's a really cheap one to own. You keep an eye out online, you'll pick one of these up for less than £10, and I think just for the aesthetic values of this thing alone, you know, for that kind of money, to own one of these, yeah, grab one.